Hello students, welcome back to the next module of our chapter S block elements. अच्छा, in this module what are we going to study? Then आज हम लोग पढ़ेंगे the important compounds of calciums. पिछली बार हम लोग ने important compounds of sodium पढ़े हुए थे. So let's start off with important compounds of calcium. The very first compound जो हम लोग पढ़ेंगे is calcium oxide, which is also referred as quicklime, and the formula is CaO. Acha, over here the very first thing which comes into our mind is how do you prepare calcium oxide? Then the preparation of calcium oxide is done by heating calcium carbonate in a reverbatory kiln at a temperature of 1070 to 1270 kelvins. Now what exactly is reverbatory kiln? तो reverbatory kiln, you just remember it's an instrument, yeah, it's a machine जिसके अंदर तुम कैल्शियम कार्बोनेट को हीट करोगे. That's it, nothing more than that. No one is going to ask you what exactly is reverbatory kiln. ठीक है. अच्छा, further next चीज अगर बात की जाए तो देखते हैं क्या होता है. कैल्शियम कार्बोनेट on heating gives you calcium oxide plus CO2 gas which is released. Further, if you notice, what are the properties of calcium carbonate? Then let's see, the very first property of calcium carbonate is that this is basic in nature. Hey, अगर ये एक basic compound है तो definitely ये acidic oxides के साथ बिल्कुल react करेगा, and हाँ, ये करता भी है. Let's take an example. तो if you talk about calcium oxide getting reacted with SiO2, which is silicon oxide, it gives you a compound which is calcium silicate. अच्छा, एक और चीज याद रखना, calcium silicate is also referred by a name which is wollaston. Okay, एक चीज याद रखना, calcium silicate is also referred by a name wollastonite ore. Further, if you talk about calcium oxide reacting with P4O10, it gives you a compound which is calcium phosphate. ठीक है. अच्छा, इसका मीनिंग क्या है देखो. तो इफ़ यू टॉक अबाउट कैल्शियम ऑक्साइड, ये एक बेसिक कंपाउंड था, एंड बेसिक कंपाउंड था इसलिए ये किसके साथ रिएक्ट कर रहा है, तो इट इज रिएक्टिंग विद एसिडिक ऑक्साइड्स लाइक सिलिकॉन ऑक्साइड या फॉस्फोरस ऑक्साइड्स. ठीक है. फर्दर, इफ यू नोटिस, calcium oxide is a white amorphous solid. Now what do you mean by amorphous solid? Then amorphous का meaning is that ये एक finely divided powder form में मिलेगा. ये solid होता है definitely, but it is not a very hard solid, it is a soft solid. Further, it reacts with carbon dioxide when it is exposed to air. And ये reaction क्या होगा? तो calcium oxide reacting with carbon dioxide giving you calcium carbonate CaCO3. Further, the next thing what we need to remember is that it could be used for the preparation of ammonia gas. And कैसे बनता है अमोनिया? चलो देखते हैं. तो अमोनिया can be produced by using CaO with NH4Cl giving me a compound CaCl2 plus ammonia plus water. अच्छा, not only ammonia, कैल्शियम ऑक्साइड जो है ना, ये स्लेक क्लाइम बनाने के भी काम आता है. कैसे, वो भी देख लेते हैं. तो कैल्शियम ऑक्साइड व्हेन ट्रीटेड विद वाटर गिव्स यू CaOH ट्वाइस. एंड एक खास बात, ये जो रिएक्शन है, दिस रिएक्शन इज एन एक्सोथर्मिक रिएक्शन, एंड व्हेनेवर द रिएक्शन इज एक्सोथर्मिक तो तुम्हारे एनर्जी का साइन क्या आता है, तो इट इज ऑलवेज नेगेटिव. नेगेटिव साइन क्या रिप्रेजेंट करता है, तो नेगेटिव साइन रिप्रेजेंट्स दैट द एनर्जी इज बीइंग लॉस्ट टू द सराउंडिंग. Further, if you notice, calcium oxide can react with chlorine gas giving you CaOCl2. And what is this compound referred as? It is referred as calcium hypochlorite. Please remember, calcium hypochlorite किस चीज़ के काम आता है, तो it is a very good bleaching agent. And bleaching agents क्या करते हैं, तो bleaching agents help in removing the colors on the clothes. Okay, clothes में से जब कलर तुमको बाहर निकालना होता है तो तुम डेफिनेटली एक ब्लीचिंग एजेंट यूज करोगे. अच्छा, what are the other uses of calcium oxide? Then calcium oxide is used in the production of cements, dyes या फिर sugar industries. Further, चलो let's move on with the next compound. The next compound that we are going to learn is calcium carbonate. अच्छा, calcium carbonate is also referred as what? That calcium carbonate, it's not referred as quicklime, it is referred as calcite number 1, या फिर it could be simply referred as chalk. Okay, Further, let's see. Now, calcium carbonate ये कैसे बनता है तो चेक करते हैं. देखो, the lab method for producing calcium carbonate is you take calcium hydroxide, treat it with CO2, giving us CaCO3 plus water. काफ़ी simple reaction है. Further, अगर बात की तो second method for production is calcium chloride लिया जाए and treated with sodium carbonate. अच्छा, once again, sodium and chlorine. Sodium is a very strong metal, chlorine is a very strong non-metal. तो ये दोनों आपस में एक साथ रिएक्ट कर जाएंगे, giving you what? Giving you calcium carbonate plus NaCl. तो एक चीज़ नोटिस की, ये जो रिएक्शन है ना, this reaction is a simple double displacement reaction. And why this double displacement reaction was occurring? It's because तुम्हारे पास जो मेटल है वो भी एक स्ट्रॉन्ग मेटल है एंड जो नॉन मेटल है वो भी एक स्ट्रॉन्ग नॉन मेटल है. सो बोथ ऑफ देम वुड कंबाइन विद ईच अदर एंड कैल्शियम एंड कार्बोनेट वुड कंबाइन विद ईच अदर. Further, let's see what exactly are the properties of calcium carbonate. Then, calcium carbonate जो होता है ना, again this is white powder, लेकिन this one is insoluble in water. Chalk पानी में soluble होता है क्या? तो नहीं होता. So calcium carbonate is also referred as chalk, and chalk is insoluble in water. Therefore, CaCO3 is insoluble in water. Further, CaCO3 and water along with carbon dioxide, अगर तुम इसको react करोगे, then what you would get is you would get calcium hydrogen carbonate, and this calcium hydrogen carbonate is slightly soluble in water. So further what we can say कि calcium carbonate जो कि एक highly insoluble compound था, इसको तुमने water and carbon dioxide के साथ treat किया, giving you a slightly soluble compound in water. Further, let's see the next compound of calcium. The next important compound that we are going to learn is calcium sulfate. अच्छा, calcium sulfate is also referred by the name gypsum. And ध्यान रखना, CaSO4 is the formula, and इसके साथ साथ you would also have 2 water of crystallizations. Okay, next thing. So what is important about gypsum? Let's see. अगर मैंने gypsum लिया and if we are heating it at a temperature of 393 kelvins or less than 393 kelvins, then what would happen? Gypsum loses 1.5 molecule of water. So what would happen? CaSO4.2H2O gets converted to CaSO4.half H2O, and CaSO4.half H2O is referred as plaster of Paris. इसको याद रखना. अच्छा, लेकिन अगर यही रिएक्शन मतलब CaSO4.2H2O को अगर तुम मोर देन 393 केल्विन्स हीट करते हो, over here you won't have degree, so अगर more than 393 केल्विन्स अगर हम लोग ने हीट किया, what would happen? तो वो जो हाफ मॉलिक्यूल ऑफ वाटर था ना, वो भी निकल जाएगा, giving you simply CaSO4, which is referred as dead burnt Paris और dead burnt plaster. अच्छा, plaster of Paris कहाँ काम में आता है? तो as we all know, plaster of Paris is used in constructions for false ceilings, or it could be used in medical industries for treating fractures using plaster. हम लोग plaster करते हैं ना, हाथ टूट गया या पैर टूट गया तो, so that plaster is made up of plaster of Paris. ठीक है, चलो further let's move on with the next thing, which is Portland cement. Now there are many types of cements, जिसमें से Portland cement would be one of the most important type जो हमें पढ़ना पड़ेगा. क्यों पढ़ना पड़ेगा? क्योंकि इसमें कैल्शियम आएगा. तो देखते हैं क्या होता है. Now Portland cement का composition क्या होता है? The very first component of Portland cement is dicalcium silicate having the formula Ca2SiO4 and in the proportion of 26%, around 26%. Further, the next one is tricalcium silicate, which is Ca3SiO5 in the proportion of 51%, the maximum of all of them. And the last one is tricalcium aluminate, which is Ca3Al2O6 in 11% composition. Again, what is Portland cement? तो Portland cement is a cement which is made from calcium. कौन कौन से compounds होते हैं? तो calcium silicate or rather dicalcium silicate. Next one is tricalcium silicate and the last one is tricalcium aluminate. Tricalcium aluminate सबसे कम, tricalcium silicate सबसे ज़्यादा and dicalcium silicate moderate. Okay. Further, the next one that we will be learning is calcium hydroxide. Let's see calcium hydroxide. अच्छा, calcium hydroxide is also referred as milk of lime या lime water. अच्छा, what is the method of preparation of calcium hydroxide? तो ये भी सिंपल है, कैल्शियम ऑक्साइड लो, इसको ट्रीट करो पानी के साथ तो तुम्हें मिल जाएगा CaOH ट्वाइस। अच्छा, CaOH ट्वाइस जो होता है ये क्या होता है, तो दिस इज स्लाइटली सोल्यूबल इन वाटर। फर्दर लेट्स सी, CaOH ट्वाइस अगर क्लोरीन के साथ रिएक्ट किया जाए तो व्हाट यू वुड गेट इज, यू वुड गेट CaCl2 प्लस यू वुड गेट CaOCl2। एंड पिछले वाले स्लाइड में अभी हम लोग ने देखा था ना, CaOCl2 इज ऑल्सो रिफर्ड एज व्हाट, इट इज रिफर्ड एज ब्लीचिंग पाउडर और कैल्शियम हाइपोक्लोराइड। फर्दर along with this you would get water as your byproduct. So these were the important compounds of calciums and important compounds of sodium. So these were all the important compounds for calcium. So here we end our chapter of S block elements, which was for your 11th grade. In this chapter, what we dealt with group 1 and group 2 elements. We dealt with their trends including electronegativity, ionization potential, फिर हम लोग ने atomic size के बारे में बात किया, फिर हम लोग ने formation energies के बारे में बात की है. Then we discussed about cohesion energy, we discussed about reducing characters. Next we discussed about chemical properties of group 1 and group 2, and finally we discussed with some important compounds of group 1, which is sodium, and some important compounds of group 2, which were for calcium. So with this, let's put a full stop to our chapter of S block elements. Hope you have understood the sessions. We'll meet up with the next chapter. Till then students, thank you and happy learning.